Another episode being recorded today with my next guest, Mike Malbon. He's got a brand and a business called Frank Chop Shop. Part of the reason why we're doing this is because we're interviewing collectors, artists, or anyone affiliated to the street art community. And Mike is definitely cemented in that. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of interviewing one of his friends, actually, a guy called Harif Guzman, a great guy, very, very interesting guy, very talented, and also, one of the hardest workers that I know as far as artists are concerned. Yeah, it just made complete sense that I get Mike on the Zoom podcast today because he actually knew Hambleton directly and he's collected his works and we've actually helped him sell some of his works for him. So welcome onto the podcast, bro.
Thank you for having me and taking the time to do this. Scrambling a bit. I'm on the way to Panama right now. It's a little vacation, and then New York has been so hectic. I mean, the whole globe has been, but Panama opened up, so finally get away for a bit. But I'm glad to be on the show with you, man.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you very much for doing this. So, just before we go into like the art side of things, and also Hambleton and the predecessors, and your take on the art market, Mike. My own podcast is called the Stephen Sully Study, and I like to interview people that I deem are quite successful. So whether that's athletes, whether that's artists, whether that's business people, and obviously you are a business person and you're also an investor. So your business, Frank Chop Shop, just tell the audience what that consists and what that's all about.
Well, officially it's a barbershop, but a lot of people, especially in the investment world and some Wall Street customers, they're like, you have so much potential. Why you just have this barbershop? Why are you, always about this barbershop? But the reality is the barbershop, traditionally, historically, has been a hub for just all types of just amazing stuff. From, just community to, just the group of, clients that we have are so diverse from, Wall Street guys to street artists. I mean, Harif Guzman gets his haircut there on the regular.
Yeah.
So without, being about business and having to talk about business, you see somebody every couple of weeks and, things happen naturally. But it's my hub. I love it there. Still with me?
Yeah, I'm still with you. With you. So,
all right, sorry. I just went to the tunnel. Sorry.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, Mike, I wasn't the sharpest kid in school. In actual fact, I was pretty terrible. I was dedicated. I never bunked off school or skipped it, but I wasn't very, very smart at all. It's probably because I wasn't engaged in the things I was being taught. But there was always something in the back of my mind that I could become somebody and I can do something with my life. And I didn't know what. And I guess I wanted to go down like the business entrepreneurial route. So when I speak to other business people or entrepreneurs, I really enjoy the conversations with them because they teach me a lot. So with you, did you always decide that you wanted to become a businessman, an entrepreneur, or is it something you just found yourself getting into?
Well, I was definitely never into school, that's for sure. I was out of there at a young age, but I always knew I would be somebody. I mean, I had a lot of ambition in a lot of different things, even growing up young. I mean, like snowboarding. I had dreams of being a pro snowboarder, or I did a bit of modeling when I was a kid, and I wanted to be big at that. But the modeling thing actually helped me out quite a bit because I was coming up to New York City for years, even as a teenager. Before I ever really got myself established in the city. But the modeling coming up every couple of months or every fashion week or whatever it was, got me in the door to all these amazing parties and events and just, rubbing shoulders with the right people. And, whether it's, being at a fashion week party and, becoming friends with Russell Simmons or, just so many things that happened in my career, were just the early years in New York. And I'm a kind of likable guy or whatever. So once I meet somebody and we get a chance to chop it up a little bit, we're pretty much friends for life. And I just take my relationships and really, valued them very much, and they turned out to be, very lucrative for me in a lot of ways, and just great friendships along the way as well.
Yeah. So you've got Frank Chop Shop in New York, but then you also got ones abroad, haven't you? Haven't you got something in Tokyo or Japan?
Yeah, well, we have one in LA as well. So we got New York and LA covered as far as the US goes, which is, like I said, my hub on both coasts. And then in Japan, everybody's, they ask me, why not Tokyo? Because I don't have a shop in Tokyo. But, I wanted everybody to ask that question because I wanted to start in the South and just kind of like make that happen and, not be in the big city and smaller cities in the South. So I started with Fukuoka which is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's the largest fish market in the world. It's right next to the shop. Check this out. See that Rambo right there?
Yeah.
That's a Rambo billboard. I'm on the way to the airport, but that's a pretty classic billboard right there. But sorry, I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, I got shops. The first one in Fukuoka, second one in Okinawa, which is like Hawaii with no crime, no drugs, no bad vibes. It's the most pleasant city you could ever be in your life. It's this island vibe, beautiful tropical fish when you snorkel and whatnot. And then we got Kagoshima, which is the city of ash. It's a giant volcano in the middle of the city. It erupts about once a year, covers the whole city with ash. So it's a really cool historical city. Very, very local. Not many tourists at all in that city. And then we have the most recent one in Kyoto, which is just, an awesome place. A lot of tourism, a lot of international clients. Just a really cool vibe there as well.
So how many actually sites have you got across the world?
6 now.
Mate, you must feel quite, like really, really, happy, but that must be such a good feeling, like to have all these sites around the world.
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean, all my barbers and all the shops are like family. I mean, we're like a little gang in each city, we got a whole crew, and we know all the people in all the restaurants and all the people in the restaurants, retail stores, art galleries, and you name it. They all come get their haircuts from us. So like I said, it's a community hub where we see each other every couple of weeks. So if a guy gets a haircut every couple of weeks, he's just popping in, no agenda. He's just coming by, and we just talk and move things forward. It's just, I'm really, really passionate about this business I have, and I appreciate you, being interested in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people just think it's a barbershop, but it's so much more than that.
Well, I was going to say, speaking to Harif, speaking to another former guest of mine, a guy called Maximilian Cooper, speaking to a few other people who are all linked to the street art community, it seems like there's a lot of overlap between skating, street art, music, barbershops, because they all pull into one area, like into one kind of thing. And the people that you meet must be very, very interesting, share common ground with you. There's a lot of rapport there. I can see how it would work, especially in New York.
Yeah, if you come in and you get the chop shop experience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, shout out to Max Cooper. He's an old friend of mine. I've done the gumball about 6 or 7 times now.
We're doing it. Woodbury House are doing it next year, 2022. We were meant to do it this year, but got cancelled.
Yeah, I haven't done it in several years, but since you guys are coming, I'm going to get back down. I'll make it happen this year, next year.
We're going to wrap a car, probably a Lamborghini Aventador, in the stop sign Richard Hambleton.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I'm definitely coming in. I got to see that.
For sure. So just one more thing about the entrepreneurial journey. So what is impressive is you've got to get one site right is difficult. To get a couple is tough, but then to scale it into other parts of the world, completely different demographics, are very, very impressive. But obviously people see the upside. What people don't see is the downside. So any challenges you've had, in scaling up your business, mindset kind of stuff, anything like that?
To state the obvious, the last, year here in the States has been terrible. So, if you got 6 shops in Japan, the barbershops are considered an essential business. So you just got to kind of balance, we're doing bad in the States right now, but Japan, full wide open and even busier during this pandemic. So, you got to take the good with the bad and just make sure you can balance it all out.
And what is
slow months, around. Yeah. But in general, the barbershop, once you get the customer in there and you get the reputation, it's like all autopilot. It's the easiest business you could ever be in, which I like a lot about that as well. I mean, the barbers, they manage themselves. The shop girls, the manager, she gets the numbers to the accountant. My job is just to get asses in the chairs, and I've done that very well. And the word of mouth reputation just keeps them filled.
So is it privately owned or is it a franchise?
Yeah, no, it's privately owned. I have a partner in Japan. We're 50-50 partners. He's an amazing guy. He really handles his business properly. Building the first one was a bit of a challenge, but now we have all the specs in place. So it's almost like we're cookie cutter in them. We'll have the pandemic did slow our progress down, but not our actual business. So we had planned to have about 3 or 4 more shops this last year that went by. So we kind of took a break on that, but in the next couple of years, we'll have at least 5, 6 more shops out in Japan, and eventually the goal was to sell it, to a bigger corporation, and just basically live the easy life over there. I'm looking to move to Okinawa, Japan, in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's inspiring, mate. Because what sort of helps me with how you're talking is, you got a barbershop, but in actual fact, it's a brand. It's a worldwide brand now. And with Woodbury House, what we're creating here, we don't just want to be an art, let's say private studio or what people deemed as a gallery and just be, just a gallery. We want to be a worldwide lifestyle brand. So we're going to venture into all different kind of stuff. And it's definitely an exciting place to be. So question then about New York. Okay, so you're obviously a thoroughbred New Yorker, correct?
Well, I was actually born in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
All right.
So, I never claimed to be, born and raised in New York. I mean, a lot of people move here for a year or two and they claim that. And I never really sat well with me. So, yeah, I'm from Virginia.
Okay.
But I've been in New York 25 years and I've been coming here for many, many years before I even moved here. But
right.
It feels like home, that's for sure. But, I just want to set the record straight on that.
Yeah, okay. My mistake, because just your accent and even the New York kind of energy that I experience from any New Yorker, you got the same thing. So I just made an assumption.
Well, I'm New York as fuck, if that's what you're asking.
So,
yeah, it's in my blood now, that's for sure.
So, as you well know, we represent one artist really, and one artist only, a guy called Richard Hambleton, who you knew really well. And what intrigued me about his story, because I'm not from the art market, Mike, I found myself in it by chance 7, 8 years ago. And what drew me to it is, the controversial kind of checkered lifestyle that not only Hambleton kind of had, but also his predecessors. And I think many artists or many people trying to hustle back in the 70s, 80s, and even parts of the 90s in New York, they all kind of experienced the same sort of lifestyle. Some of them made it, they went off to be music artists or successful business people or graffiti artists, and other people, unfortunately, they live by the sword and die by the sword. But from your own kind of view, what was New York like back in the 80s? Was it as controversial as the media made out?
Yeah, it was. New York was a crazy time. I mean, where my shop is, you couldn't even come down there without getting robbed. There was heroin addicts and junkies and killers, and, abandoned buildings, and it was crazy. And the weird thing is, the coincidental thing is, it's literally starting to go back to that. I mean, it'll never get that bad, I don't think, but it's literally it's coming. There's people shooting dope in the streets left and right now. Hey, thank you, buddy. Sorry, I just got my car service. Yeah, it's getting crazy, man. I mean, Richard lived it to the fullest. That wild lifestyle until the day he died. I mean, not to talk about it, the crazy habits and stuff he had too much. But I used to come to the shop and they'd be like, "Hey, you need to go get Richard out of the bathroom." He'd be in there, shooting dope in my bathroom at the barbershop. It's like, I'm like, "Richard, what are you doing? You live around the corner, go home." But he was about that life so much that he couldn't even wait an extra block to get into his apartment to do what he had to do.
Wow, man.
It's crazy. So, but he really lived that life, and not many people did. If they did live that life, they were dead. You know what I mean? Like, Richard was one of the rare ones that somehow made it, made it to the day he died,
Do you know, what I've read about, I never had the pleasure of meeting Richard, but I was on a phone call when he was on a phone call with Andy Van Morbida, and I got to hear his voice. And everything that I read about, watched, and also heard in his voice, was kind of the image that I built up in my head. He was a very talented person. As far as who he was as an individual, he was, in my mind, very asset rich. So what I mean is his profile and his IP was, worth quite a lot of money, but he was cash poor. So it was quite known.
He was broke constantly.
Yeah. So,
constantly broke.
So he would go into a barbershop, he would go into a restaurant, he would go into a hotel, and he would paint as currency to get the services. Was that very much the same with you?
Well, I mean, he got his haircut a few times there, but I would, always buy stuff on when he needed cash. You know what I mean? Like, that's how, to his band. But, so many people would try to take advantage of somebody like that. I gave him a way more fair shake than a lot of these guys did. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But, he would definitely paint the door in a restaurant to get, X amount of meals or stay in a hotel. I mean, he definitely was the master of that. He's as cunning and as edgy as any street junkie that you could ever imagine. Like, his mentality wasn't to have like mansions, and his mentality was just to get the next bag of dope, basically. I mean, his main thing was heroin, but he also had a really, really bad crack habit too.
Wow.
So cracking heroin, like nobody's business, man. I mean, this guy would make, Keith Richards or somebody look like a choir boy. You know, I mean, he was, $4,000, $5,000 a day habit. Like, nobody talks about it. But I mean, I don't know. I have nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Like, his reputation is what it is, and his legacy is going to be strong with it or without it. You know what I mean? So I like talking about it, to be honest with you.
Well, like the thing is, I mean, because he was such a character, that's why people are drawn to his work. Because let's have it right, Mike. You know, if he was some kind of textbook artist who, complied with the art market, and he was, let's say, what we call a normal person, would he be that interesting? Probably not.
No. He was very, mysterious, controversial. He had no filter. He was extremely witty, but he also could he could fly off the handle and ruin a ruin a good situation in a second. Yeah. I mean, I did nothing but take care of the guy for many years, and over nothing, he would just completely never talk to me again. And then there'd be a year later, I'd get back in touch with him. He just would really fly off the handle. He was like, I mean, you can imagine, the influence that he was under. That you could have your ups and downs, obviously.
Yeah. So I know, he used to paint to get products or services and stuff. And I remember we sold a piece for you, which is actually a Frank chop shop. What was it?
Yep.
Yeah. What was it again? He painted a rodeo on one of your shutters or something.
Yeah, that was around he did that I think around 2006 or 7 or something. I forgot the exact date, but or maybe he did it later actually. But when we opened the barbershop in 2005, we did a screen print just to test out some T-shirt designs. So I just took a blank canvas and I just ran the screen over the canvas to see what they would look like on the tees. There was 5 of our logos on one long, rodeo-sized canvas, and then Richard calls me, said he needed money, and he was inspired. And there's also times he needed money, he would just borrow $20, $50. He would be that down and out. But other times, I'm inspired, bring some cash over. So I probably bought him $5,000, $10,000. And, to be honest with you, he just said he felt inspired, and I didn't have a canvas, and it was 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I just grabbed that thing off the wall in the basement of the shop and went over there, and he just banged it out.
Nice. Very, very, very cool piece. So
I think it was 10,000 to be honest with you.
Well, look, from the grassroots levels, Mike, what New York was like, what his predecessors, were like, and what the street art community is very much like. I mean, in your own words, where do you see his market going? Because for me, I've bought into it massively. I put a lot of money into the market. I've helped grow the market, I would say, certainly over here in the UK and also part of Europe. And I fully believe in it. So from your perspective, where can you see it going?
I think the market's only going to go up. I mean, the reality of the thing is that when you talk about barters and this and that, there's a little bit of a gray area because no one really knows how many of those things he did, which could affect the market or whatnot. But I think his market's going to be strong. To compliment what you were saying about building a brand, you gave me a sneak peek to some of the, the bus shelter, advertising campaign you're doing. I think that kind of stuff is great for the market. I know Andy and them are doing some stuff. There's also a virtual museum. I've been hearing about it. As long as all these things keep happening, like these big moments for him, the market's only going to go up. If everybody kind of just didn't do anything, who knows what would happen. But I think that the market's in the right people's hands, and I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at his predecessors, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Keith Haring, and some of the affiliates. I mean, even Ramel Z, and even people that are alive today, such as Futura, and even Days and Crash and stuff. I mean, their market, the halo effect of Jean-Michel Basquiat dying, Keith Haring, Hambleton, Ramel Z, is stimulated the whole contemporary street art genre. So if you look
Yeah.
at his predecessors, they've gone to tens of millions of dollars. It's only a matter of time before Hambleton get there, providing that people drive the market.
Yeah, I think that one interesting thing that's going to happen with the market is the beautiful paintings. I think they're going to really, really be something in the future. So I know that I think you have a couple or whatever. But I think that once you got your fill of the shadows and the rodeos and whatnot, I would start looking at some of the beautiful paintings as well, because I'm really curious to see where that's going to go, because those were extremely time consuming for him. Like, at the end of the day, he could bust out a rodeo. I mean, sometimes it would take him longer, but literally, I've seen him do one in an hour. The beautiful paintings with many layered process, and it was just like, acrylic and just this really like wet look that had to dry. I just think that there's just way less of them, and I think it's some of his best work that nobody really talks about.
Yeah, I'm
the landscapes. I call them beautiful paintings, but a lot of people call them landscapes.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the one that set the biggest record so far in 2019 was a landscape. $550,000 in Philip. So it's already set the precedence.
Nice, I like that.
But there's a big publisher which you'll probably know the name, but I'm not meant to say it publicly. They're based in New York. They're the biggest publisher in New York. They're about to do a book for Hambleton. It's being announced very soon. Then you've got the Richard Hambleton Experience that is potentially happening at the Tate Modern or somewhere very similar to that. It was actually put on Instagram, on social media, that they were going to do it at Tate Modern, but it's all subjected to COVID. And then you've got, there's something else which is similar to the Shadow Man documentary, but bigger, that is going to be taking place, apparently. So you've got all these things.
I heard about a movie as well, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if these things are in process, he can only go up. I just don't see how it can. You talk about the experience. People that have never heard of him just going to stumble into this experience, and just it's going to be amazing to them. I mean, his work is powerful. So the more people see it, the more big events that happen around them. It's only going up.
And what would you say from your own point? Because a lot of street artists, contemporary street artists. In actual fact, you put me into a few people, which I really, really appreciate as well, Mike.
No problem.
Where do you see the whole entire market going? I'll tell you why I asked this question. We're obviously in some kind of recession or pending looming recession because of COVID-19. Yeah. I believe, I'm an optimist. I'm a very optimistic person. I believe if I jumped out the plane without a parachute, I will survive. That's how optimistic I am. But I'm also, in some ways, aware that COVID-19 is going to be around for a very long time, and we've got to deal with it. But businesses are going to be hit, unemployment's going to go up, and therefore taxes are going to go up. City Private Bank, which is part of Citigroup, one of the biggest banks in the world, established in 1812, released a report. And that report was between the years of 1985 to 2020. And they said contemporary street art for their investors, clients and customers made on average every single year 11.5%. And what they demonstrated is in times of recession, in times of uncertainty, people stockpile artworks to preserve their money and also to make money. Would you support that, or what's your view on that?
Well, I'll just tell you, for example, how I've been doing my career, or whatever you want to call it, in the art game. I buy art almost weekly. I buy something. Truth be told, I'm basically a hoarder. I'm actually organizing my whole collection right now. I mean, I have one of the most diverse collections of anybody. I mean, I have the 80s era of graffiti, like the James Tops, the Stay High 149s, the Futures, the Ramo Z's, the Quicks, the Dr. Revolts. I have something from all of those guys. I also have the 90s era, which is like Retina and MQ and Hale and Saber, and I can go on and on. And then you got the 2000s as well, a bunch of the young guys. So I have all that. I have a crazy photography collection from, Jamil Shabazz to Esteban Oriol to, Craig Weatherby. I just have so much photography as well. So, I mean, I don't have a yacht or, fancy car or anything like that. I just love buying art. I love, having relationships with the artists. And, the way I look at it, it's like a batting average to me. Like, if I continue to keep swinging, like, eventually I'm going to hit a home run. There's no question about it. Like, and Hambleton was really, really good. You know, like I was putting that money into Hambleton when there was no certainty at all that any of this would happen. You know what I mean? And I believed in it. I got a few artists I can recommend. You know, that I believe in it now. Rambo, I just showed you one of his billboards. His Instagram's LDLR33. Like I've told you about him. A lot of people don't get his work, but I just feel something tells me he's going to be a big one. You know, Harif, I feel like Harif's work ethic is going to get him there. And he's talented as well. You know, I got a bunch of retinas, you know, but, you know, there's certain things, you know, like go up and down, like, you know, Anthony Lister, I have some of his work, you know, and I think he's, you know, got some kind of controversial situation where, you know, you never know in the art game. So,
yeah,
it's, you know, just keep swinging is the way I look at it. And I totally agree with what you were saying in that regard.
Yeah. This is going to sound like a bit, not really so much well, this is a statement that I'm going to make because I've spoken to so many people affiliated to the Hambleton market, collectors or galleries, etc. And I'm trying to be as black and white as I can with this. So, like, obviously, people have bought into Hambleton's because they appreciate his work, they love the narrative. But there's always that other part of it, Mike, which is, you know, they're going to go up in value eventually. And everybody knows that when an artist does pass away, it's sometimes their best career move they can make because the prices go skyrocketing. You only have to look at any of the greats. It's all happened to them. So Hambleton's no exception. When that call came through that you found out, because I remember where I was in London, I got the call. He had died. It was just a bit of a mad thing because we all knew he was going to die eventually because of the drugs, because of the cancer, etc. It was very, very sad. But then obviously people that owned like 10, 20, 30 works, you know, basically doubled their fortune. Bit of a mad kind of paradox to live in, you know, between gaining but also losing a legend from the art sector.
Well, I mean, Richard used to say, like, he would negotiate with me. He'd be like, look, he's like, you're getting this at a great price. He's like, I'm going to die. He's like, you should get this, you know, he's like negotiating, telling me he's going to die. In a funny way, in a weird way. So, you know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you know, obviously, you know, I knew he was going to pass away at some point. You know, I was very saddened by it. But, you know, Richard knew it. I mean, he didn't have a face. I don't know if I could, how I could describe this. He had, like, from here to here, there's no face.
I know. I've seen some of the pictures.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I mean, how do you live like that? Like, with having no face? And, you know, so it's clearly obvious that this is going to happen. And on top of that, they ate no food. It was Gigi, him, and Mimi in the room. And they had a hotel room. They were in there for, at least a year, and they never had the housekeeper come in. So there was, like, rotten milk and peanut butter. I mean, you can't live like that for too long, you know?
Yeah. Do you know what these artists are now doing? Slightly changing the conversation, but what I'm finding now is a lot of artists are using their IP to do collaborations. So they'll do a collaboration with, I don't know, Giorgio Armani. They'll do it with Supreme. They'll do it with Levi's, Converse. I mean, I know Futura 2000 is very, very big on collaborations. I mean, Cause has done collaborations.
He's a master of that.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think, I love it because I think it allows a younger demographic who can't buy originals yet, or people that are looking at the art market and a little bit, you know, don't have the encouragement yet to go into the originals. They get a slice of it by going through the collectibles and merchandise. How do you see that culture developing, Mike?
I think that you just said it well. It's a double-edged sword with some of this stuff. Like, a guy like Futura is really, like I said, he's the master. He's been able to do it and still keep his value of his actual art up for galleries and whatnot, and also do some really, really cool stuff that everybody's attracted to. A lot of guys can't pull that off. I mean, you know, a lot of guys, if they go that route, you know, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like sell out comes to mind. You know, but certain people can do it, certain people can't. I mean, you know, like, I just think a great one is Murakami just did the watch collaboration with Hugo. You know, like, that's genius. It's brilliant. Like, nobody, you know, no one can say anything about that. It's just so well done. You know what I mean? It's got to be well done, and you know, you got to keep your integrity, I guess.
Yeah, because we back in 2016 we presented a collaboration between Dark Circle Clothing, a Birmingham-based based brand with the Hambleton IP, which Andy obviously owns. And it was so successful because it got us into different publications, places like Hypebeast, places like Italian Vogue. I mean, you would probably never see Hambleton's work in Hypebeast or Italian Vogue without that collaboration idea. And obviously, sure. Dark Circle, they were the second brand to collaborate with Hambleton behind Supreme, which is massive because Supreme are a multi-billion-dollar organization. So I see the culture just building and building and building. I think there's a big sector that we are definitely going into, Woodbury House, with our e-commerce shop to, home and house fashion artists, all different kind of sectors together to bring some unique collaborations.
I think that's part of your brand. I think that's the relationships that you have. I think that's great. I think that you should definitely, move in that direction. I'll tell you a funny story real quick about the not funny, just that, just where my mindset is. With that said, is that I found out very early that Richard had passed. As I'm sure you did, and some personal collectors and stuff that are in the know. So when I found out, I don't know why my first thought was. One of my first thoughts was on a business level was to go and buy, most of the Supreme Hambleton collection that I could find, the vintage stuff on eBay. So before anybody knew that it was that he even passed, I had bought 6, 7 different shirts and whatnot, and and then literally as soon as the word got out, everybody was like, "Oh, he's passed. Let me raise the price on these." But I already got the stuff I wanted. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know what I mean? And I feel like you can look at it in a couple different ways. Is that greedy or I don't know. But to me, Richard was a friend, and I had no problem with it.
Yeah, well, as you said, I mean, he was a friend of yours. I mean, you served him as well by looking after him, getting his hair cut, giving him food, etc. And even he said to you, look, buy these pieces because in the next couple of years I'm going to die. I mean, there was no secret around it. So yeah. It was a fair exchange, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I like I said, you can look at some of the numbers for a certain piece that I paid for. You can look at them at the time as a risk because, you never know what's going to happen. You don't just throw around $10,000, $15,000, unless something's going to happen. But, there was no guarantee. So at the time, he was getting a fair shake when other people were trying to give him $2,000 and this and that. So I would always consistently be able to get stuff because I wouldn't haggle them down like other people would. I mean, you talk about somebody who has 20, 30 pieces. Some of these guys out there, straight vultures, they were paying, $2,000 for a rodeo. I'll buy 10 of them for $20,000. You know what I mean? Just dangling the money in front of him, and he would eventually do it. But, that's one thing I said is I don't know how many of those deals he did, but I would only buy one at a time, roughly around 10,000 was my average. So, if he's getting lowballed by this guy and I give him a straight shot at, 10 every time he come to me, I think we were both on the same page,
Yeah. Listen, when we're allowed to, because Mr. Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, has just announced that restrictions are going to start to ease from April the 12th. So our first stop, me and my business partner, Joseph, we're going to be flying over to New York, and we're there to do some content. We're there to forge relationships. We're there to, talk to more people about the Hambleton market and the street art community, and also to try and find some more pieces as well. Love to try and do something with you guys at Frank Chop Shop, man.
Well, I definitely got you guys a cut and a shave on the house.
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about beyond that, though. Maybe a collaboration.
I was joking. yeah, I was joking. But yeah, you come down, get the cut and shave because that's just, I like to greet people with that, and then we'll do a little walk around the neighborhood and we'll build on some stuff. I'll take you over to the apartment where he lived in for years, where that's featured in the documentary. And I can take you over to the Solita Hotel, show you what room, point out his room they stayed in. And it's funny, when you used to look up at their room, he had it all black trash bags. The whole windows were blacked out. But anyway, I'll do a little Richard Hamilton tour. We'll get some dinner and we'll build on some stuff.
That's powerful, mate. Really, really cool. I know you got a flight to catch, so 2 more things.
No problem.
Where can people find you on social media?
At Frank's Chop Shop is the Instagram. And if you guys want to do me a favor, check out my new little passion is at Frank's Fish Club. I'm going to Panama right now, like I said, going on a 7-day fishing trip, and then I'm going to Miami for another 7-day fishing trip. Super passionate about it. I don't know. It's like all this madness during COVID. I fished my whole life, but I got back into it. There was nothing else to do, and we've been having a blast with it, man. So check me out there. But Frank's Chop Shop on Instagram. Or anywhere wants to DM or anything, that's my main one. And Frank'sChopShop.com is our website. Like you said, we have the brand. We do a bunch of branded merch, and like all different hats and tees and hoodies, and but there is a brand, like you said. So that's me.
Cool.
That's where I'm at.
And last question. So I've got a motto, which is be happy, never content. Be happy, never content. If I were to ask you, Mike, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, just don't get stuck on one thing. Just keep moving and keep doing your thing, man. I'm a very positive person. It's very rare to see me down. I always will find something positive and something to do, and always enjoy my life. That's for sure. And I like that motto.
Yeah, wicked, mate. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. This is going to be out in the next few weeks on YouTube. It's going to be out on my podcast, which is on iTunes. There's also going to be features on Instagram, Facebook, etc. And be sure to comment and share it with your friends and family. Thank you again, Mike, and have a safe trip, bro.
My pleasure, brother. Much love, and
nice
enjoyed talking to you.
All right, top man.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.